So I got three questions for Lenin and the Bolsheviks. Okay, I'm looking at the chronology, the chronology of the whole thing, and what did they do with the Ukraine? What's up with the Bolsheviks in the Ukraine? The Ukraine's been around for 800 something years, so they're going to say that it's Lenin's Ukraine. What are you talking about, Putin? What the hell are you talking about? So I got three questions for Lenin and the Bolsheviks, okay? Or for any of the communists who, consider themselves Leninist or, Marxist or hardcore communist. You got three questions, okay? Lenin is going to be put into a train, a sealed train from Germany. So the Kaiser William goes ahead and puts Lenin, a revolutionary, into a sealed train and sends him to St. Petersburg in order to take down the Russian government. And they're successful, but there's German revolutionaries that eventually overthrow William, and so he doesn't even really get to see the fruit of his labor. My question to Lenin and the Bolsheviks is this. He was put into a train by the Germans. They're at war with the goddamn Germans. The fucking Russians were, Kerensky and the provisional government. And then he's going to take all that money from the bourgeoisie, capitalist, imperialist, basically the Kaiser William, the exact class that he's going to rail against in Russia. And then they're going to sign the Brest Treaty, and the Brest Treaty was only Brest for the Germans. The Brest Treaty was worse than Versailles, and it said that they only laid claim to Russia, and they didn't lay claim to any of the Baltic or Eastern Iron Curtain bloc states. So, yeah, the Brest Treaty made Versailles Treaty seem kind and gentle. So, my God, the Germans got a sweet fucking deal with Vladimir, Lenin. Not only is he against, he's on the opposite side, right? Russia's like, we got to defeat the Germans, and Lenin's like, hey, the Germans just gave me a ride by train, what? Why we gotta fight with the Germans? Let's go ahead and sign an agreement with the damn Germans. Let's sign an agreement with the Germans. What? Sign an agreement with the Germans? The November Revolution wasn't the first time the Bolsheviks tried to take power. Trotsky was going to get jailed earlier, and then Lenin's going to have to flee. He's hiding in Finland. So it's interesting how these radicals are able to live after they try to take power by force. Well, Lenin and Trotsky, they just try to take power by force once. We'll go ahead and send them in jail, exile them. I'll teach them a lesson. They'll be reformed after that. They'll think about what they did, and they'll be completely different people after that. So they must have had some great security or a really smart underground railroad network of folks. And then the last but not least, for all you Leninists, you Marxist, Leninist, communist motherfuckers. After Lenin and the Bolsheviks take power, Trotsky and Stalin and all the rest, once they take power after the November Revolution in 1917, you have a 5-year civil war. Yeah, there's the whites and the royalists, but there's also the Don Cossacks, the horse people in the Ukraine, and you have, like 4 or 5 or 6 other fucking groups. So you got, if the people of Russia were so ready for the Bolsheviks to take power, they're going to starve the fuck out of them. But why? If the people of Russia so wanted the Bolsheviks to take power, then why did it take a 5-year civil war for the Bolsheviks to finally solidify and consolidate their hold on power? If the people of Russia wanted the Bolsheviks so goddamn much, it shouldn't have took 5 fucking year civil war. It shouldn't have took a 5-year civil war. The Civil War wasn't just the whites versus the reds. It was, reds versus whites and the Ukrainians and the Greens and everybody else. Had the Bolsheviks been democratically elected, then they would have had democratic legitimacy, and Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin, their fucking legacy. Imagine, instead of just having, fucking 2 goddamn communists in Russian history, you had presidents. You had, first 5 years and 10 years. You had, 10 fucking presidents. Instead, you got 1 or 2 goddamned assholes. Just shows you, secession is one of the biggest problems when it comes to. So those are 3 questions. Those are 3 questions I have. If Lenin and the Bolsheviks are so goddamn great, then how come there was a 5-year civil war after they took power after the November Revolution? And the November Revolution, I'm just kind of, I guess, not a question for the Bolsheviks, but how come nobody It's just incredible. I mean, they try to take power, so usually it's treason, right? That's a firing squad, but somehow Trotsky got arrested. Lenin got exiled again. Motherfucker came in to stir some trouble up and then tried to take shit by force and only, got kicked, exiled again. Well, it's like Napoleon just kept on sending him to like a fucking island and shit instead of just. And then last but not least, who the fuck was financing Lenin's goddamn? Was it the Kaiser? Was the Kaiser sitting there financing Lenin the whole fucking time? When they're at the train station, people are like, they're the spies. But no. Nope, the Germans definitely sent Lenin into the heart of Russia to foment rebellion and revolution in order to take down the Russian regime, to take down the government of Russia, who was still fighting against the Germans. They were still fighting against the German offensive. Kerensky is going to try something and then wind up it being a terrible disaster or some shit. He who learns must suffer, and even in our sleep pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, and in our despair against our own will comes wisdom to us by the awful grace of God. He who learns must suffer, and even in our sleep pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, and in our own despair against our will comes wisdom to us by the awful grace of God. Aeschylus. It's also what Robert Kennedy said when MLK got assassinated. R.I.P. MLK, R.I.P. RFK. And R.I.P. Trotsky. You didn't deserve an ice pick to the head. Trotsky, you did not deserve an ice pick to the head.